So now we're going to take a look at some of the individuals from this past season who maybe were a little bit underrated and shine a spotlight on them. Jalil, you got like this, you look like you're about to officiate a wedding over here with this.
You know what? This is crazy.
I was dying.
This is
what?
actually the folder that I used to officiate my cousin's wedding in Italy last year. So
well, I guess I just nailed it then.
You got me pegged. You got me pegged. I rate
You
that
were standing there like this. I'm like, are we about to get a sermon? What's going on this Tuesday morning? Either way, we're going to start with the underrated manager of the season in both of y'all's opinions. So, Master, you want to kick us off?
Yes, I do. I want to start us off. We're going to France, where Liam Rosenior had a tremendous season as a manager for Strasbourg. The team that he led, average age 21.4 years old. It was the youngest club in Ligue 1 and one of the youngest clubs in Europe, and he was able to lead them back into European football, clinching a spot in the Conference League. What a fantastic job he did. Well deserving of Ligue 1 Manager of the Year. And this is a name you want to watch next summer, because I promise you there will be a lot of clubs. They did try to call him this year, but he's going to stick around at Strasbourg. But next summer, a name to watch. He did a fantastic job and deserves all the praise for what he did at Strasbourg.
All right, there you have it. Underrated spotlight from Master. Julia, what do you got for the manager?
There you go. The officiant is ready to start. Okay, so I'm going with Unai Emery, 53-year-old Spanish manager, did excellently at Aston Villa. The reason why I'm going with him as underrated manager for me is because they started off the season in dismal fashion. We were looking like, what is going on with Aston Villa? They were absolutely terrible. But they finished the season 6th place with 66 points. And for me, what I really like is they qualify for European football. But
it wasn't Champions League. But it wasn't Champions League. They were right there.
We understand. They were very, very close. But let's look at the entirety of the season. They were winless from October 23rd to December 3rd. That is 8 games, and losing the majority of those. And then they completely flipped the script. From February 26th to April 18th, they went on an 8-game winning streak. And then in their last 31 games, they won 20 of those games. So for me, when you're able to adapt, that shows very good prowess from the manager.
I think the points you made were good, and also the performance they had against PSG. They gave it a run there in the second leg in particular. But the way it ended, that final match, I know the goal didn't count, and it should have counted, and they would have gotten a spot in the Champions League. But they were still in a position to get it. His emotions took over. The rest of the team lost focus, and at that point they unraveled. That, to me, it put a sour note in terms of the way the season ended and their inability to get champions.
And I know that they dealt with some injuries as well, but I would argue that the team had enough pieces and Unai Emery enough experience to have gotten better out of them to have secured a Champions League spot. I'm going to give my pick. I'm heading out to Serie A. Did a lot of coverage of that league this season. I'm torn, but I got to give love to Vincenzo Italiano and what he did with this Bologna team, delivering them a Coppa Italia title, had this team absolutely balling in the second half of the season as well. I mean, they had one of the best records right up there with Roma and Claudio Ranieri, who would be my other pick in that second half of the season in a very exciting Serie A race towards the end. Okay, next up, we've got your players of the season, underrated player of the season.
Underrated players. We're going to stick to Serie A. We're going to go to Fiorentina.
Let's do it.
Moise Keane. What a season this guy had. If you were Italian right now, you were feeling really good because you have yourselves a striker. Fiorentina, he 25 goals, 3 assists right now, just becoming 25 years old. This guy, I don't know why he's not mentioned more in terms of some of the best strikers that we saw this season in Europe, and someone that I feel like should be going for a lot of money at this point. Like, this guy is a baller, and you're getting him at this point at 25 years old. I feel like there should be a lot of teams that should be calling this guy, but they're not. So I want to make sure to give him his praise and his flowers. What a fantastic season he had at Fiorentina.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Vieri on Kicking It even said, like, he's, the future. I mean, if you get high praise from Bobo Vieri, that speaks for itself.
It's bigger than Master Tesfatsion. I'll tell you how much bigger than Master Tesfatsion. But we got to give him as much praise as we can because he has been tremendous.
Yeah, his future will be one to watch. Jalil, what do you got?
I'm staying in in Serie A as well. I'm going with Retegui. For me, he had an absolutely amazing season with Atalanta. Whenever they needed a moment, whenever they needed a goal, it seemed to be him, not necessarily just Lukman on the wing or whatever have you. I like the way that he took the bull by the horns throughout the entirety of the season. So for me, it's nice that we're staying in Serie A. Perfect segue from you, Aly.
Okay, but can a guy be underrated if he led the league in goals and had 6 clear on everybody else?
The reason why I have
Golden Boot, so.
the reason why I have him as underrated is because we're going to be talking about Ousmane Dembele, we're going to be talking about Mo Salah, we're going to be talking about Rafinha, we're going to be talking about, of course, Lamine Yamal. So of course, yes.
So maybe underrated on like the global scale, but like in Serie A, you're not underrated. If
underrated in the global stage is what I'm going for. Yes, you're absolutely right. If you're you're talking about just Serie A, no, he's not going to be an underrated player, but I want to give him his flowers because I feel like he is going to be a player that will be drowned out by all of the noise of the Champions League winners and those who were of the top level in the Champions League competition. That's where I was going with it.
Okay, I don't know how I feel about that one, but you have some chances to redeem yourself. Here we got young player of the year coming up. Yeah.
This is what we want. This is what we want.
Jalil would have had a better luck officiating a wedding this morning than having to deal with me over here. But no, Master, you go ahead.
We're going to Aston Villa here. We're going to go Morgan Rogers because
Got you.
I'm a tremendous fan of what he's done. 22 years old, what he's been able to do, 54 matches that he's played, and he had 14 goals, 15 assists. This guy in his first season really taking over here and playing at Aston Villa was someone that a lot of people didn't really recognize and know his name. To take on that shoulder load, to take on that burden, to be that facilitator, to be able to be that goal scorer. He should have scored that goal to get in the Champions League. Then unfortunately the refs messed up there. That should have happened. But to see his promise and his ability, not just for Villa, but also it gives the English national team another option, another attacking option at the number 10 spot, which would give him a lot of versatility for Thomas Tuchel. This guy right here has a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, I like that.
I like love for these Europa League teams coming in next season.
I went to a couple Europa League matches, and I got the bug. I love it.
Surprised. I thought we were going to see maybe more, players who were on those winning teams that maybe just weren't like the key cog, or they weren't like the flashy stats kind of players, but like really important pieces. I don't know.
Hey, we're going for the underrated. We're going for the people that deserve to shine the love.
The way that I went with this one here is taking an opportunity to shout out one of our Americans abroad. And I went with Paxten Aaaronson. And the reason why is because he's one of the national team players of the hour, gets called in via injury to some of the other players. But for me, he's taken the chance that he has with Utrecht on loan, really fortified himself in European football. They have a good season collectively. But for me, what I like about him, yes, he's so young. Yes, we talk about the Aaronson brothers a lot, but it's not easy to go over to Europe and to do very well with a better team in Eredivisie. And then when you talk about national team options, and your pick, that's what I'm looking at here, because we constantly talk about this group. Is it the golden generation or whatever have you? You need to be playing, and you need to be playing at a high level going into the important tournaments with the World Cup looming. That's why, for me, Paxten Aaaronson is getting a shout out here as one of the underrated players in Europe.
Okay, very good. Well, last but not least, underrated team of the season. Master, you want to kick us off again?
I'm not going Europa now.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
I'm going Conference League.
At this point, I'm Costa Koglu wasn't your
Celta Vigo at La Liga. What a season they had, finishing 7th in Spain, the best finish they've had since 2015-2016, and being able to capture Conference League. This was, again, a very competitive. I know, obviously, Barcelona was able to run away with this, and you always look at the top of La Liga with what Real Madrid does, with Athletic Club, with FC Barcelona, and what Atletico Madrid does. But the race that you saw for Europa and the battle you saw with Rayo and what you saw with Celta Vigo, it was very competitive. And for Celta Vigo, being able to make it European competition, can't understate this enough, how significant and how huge is this for them. And Iglesias had a great year, scoring 11 goals for them. It's a tremendous season for them, and something they could build off of, being able to play in European competition. What a great season for them.
All right. Jalil?
And I'm going where somewhere I would imagine that you're going to be okay with this one here, but I'm going with Bologna. You picked their manager. I'm going with them as underrated team of the year. For me, they're a gem of Serie A. And when you look at teams that, aren't expected necessarily to do a lot, and then they do, for me, I always like that. Underdogs, for me, have always been somewhat of stories that I identify with. I feel like, most players, they can relate to being counted out, but then proving people that, hey, look, when you bring the collective together, you're able to do amazing things. And that's why, for me, I go with Bologna.
All right, I like that. You know what I do want to add in here is Newcastle. Winning the Carabao Cup this season, I think what they did was really special in the context of what their club has achieved in the past and where they were at. And I would also add Roma to this. I don't think the story around Europe outside of Serie A was really around just how desperate of a situation this team was in, getting in the relegation battle there for a second before getting turned around by Claudio Ranieri and qualifying for Europe. So pretty incredible.
Crazy run they had from January on. It was tremendous to watch.
It was nuts. All right, well, very good. Those are our underrated spotlights from this past European season.